Welcome to Venture Step Podcast, where we discuss entrepreneurship, industry trends, and the occasional book review. Today, we're going to be discussing a topic that I've been wanting to touch on for a while, but the issue was there wasn't anything out there in progress to prevent these kind of grotesque acts. And now that Take It Down has passed the Senate and the House, we're on track. So I was sent a video, like a YouTube video, two to be precise. I was sent two YouTube videos about how people are making and telling people to make these AI models. And when I say AI models, I don't mean AI model like ChatGPT. I'm talking about like a deep fake version of somebody or a completely synthetic virtual human to create OnlyFans sales funnels. And the breakdown of what they described to do was very bad, and I didn't want to talk about it because there was nothing preventing people from doing these things, or there wasn't a act put in place to explicitly target deepfakes, but now there is. But basically what they described to do was to find cute women on TikTok and then take their face and then stamp it on like an Instagram model type body, and then create a profile, use the dances of this body with this person's face, then create a OnlyFans sales funnel to get people to watch the video on TikTok and then go and subscribe to their OnlyFans to make money. And it's just such a gross thing to do, not cool, and is just disgusting. Like, it's just disgusting human behavior. And I didn't want to encourage it or talk about it in pretty much any detail. I described it a couple times on some episodes, but I never talked about the methodology of what this person described to do. And even then, I'm not really going into that much detail. The guy breaks down which apps to use, which websites to go to, how to identify like a good model versus a bad model, all sorts of stuff. Like, he really breaks it down. And it's just, I think with innovative technology, you'll always attract people that either are weirdos or that want to exploit others using this technology to have notoriety or monetary gain or attack others. And that's evident with some of the attacks on Taylor Swift. Like, social media platforms had to block access to typing in her name for some time while they got the deep fake videos under control. But basically, people made deep fakes of Taylor Swift doing sexual acts, and it was just out of control. And the only way that social media companies were able to combat this was just not allow people to be able to search that name while they took down all the content. So I'm going to get into the actual purpose of the episode. I just wanted to give you some background of why I couldn't talk about what I wanted to talk about previously because there was no Take It Down Act. And yeah, I'm overall very, very bullish about this act. I think it future-proofs quite a few things and covers revenge porn and deepfake porn and anything of this such. I think it puts us in a pretty good spot on a legal standpoint to scale with the technology that is rapidly evolving and rapidly advancing, as you can tell from these episodes and the ongoing development of everything that you see and hear online. Like, for example, my altered deepfake voice that I created I showed this to folks and showed them the episode, and I didn't tell them that it was AI, and you didn't know that it was AI when you first listened to the episode. And people couldn't tell. They couldn't tell that it wasn't AI until I told them. And then once I let them know that, hey, this is AI, then that's when their whole world opened up. And they're like, oh, I knew it. There was this little thing, and it makes sense now. But if you don't tell the person, then it's difficult to know. And it wasn't for the normal ear, you weren't able to listen into the different cues, and you weren't able to tell that wasn't me, which is scary. Like, what if someone took all my voices? Please don't do this, by the way. Come on, we're pals. But what if somebody took all my voice data and started saying all sorts of bad things on the internet, like XYZ, like just horrific stuff? And then I lose my job, or I lose my children that I have. I don't have any children at the time, right now, but I will in the future. I got to get a girlfriend first and then a wife. But yeah, I've got plans. I'm not there yet. But all that being said, society judges folks on their actions and the things that they've done and the things that they do prior. And there's certain things that you just won't be able to get away from. Doing bad things typically has ramifications. And if I'm saying bad things on the internet, people will be like, oh, well, I don't want to associate myself with Dalton because he's a bad person, because I'll look at all the stuff he says on the internet. But what if that stuff is fake and not me? But you can't tell that it's not me. Like if somebody puts a video and my voice, lip syncs it, it's just really difficult. It's really difficult to know, like, is it me or not me? And that's kind of the gist of what the Take It Down Act is about. So the Take It Down Act is about revenge porn and sexual acts related to deepfakes. And this has since been defined in the NCII rule. And basically it defines what is non-consensual imaging. So if you're in an intimate relationship with somebody and you decide to film or take photos of each other, you've consented to that by just your relationship. Obviously the person that is hopefully in their, if they don't have consent, then that you can't take video of people. But let me rephrase that, or phrase that really wrong, or not wrong, but like just phrase it in an odd way. Basically, if you're in an intimate relationship and you agree to take videos and photos of each other, that's fine. But just because you gave consent for private photos or videos to be taken and recorded and then stored, that doesn't consent to publication of those videos. And people you've seen in the past have been victim of publication of private information or private sexual acts. And most of the time, the victims of this thing these acts are women. And then there's this other emerging risk of deep fakes in the advancement of AI, where people are able to go on websites that allow you to undress somebody or take a photo that was not intimate. So you don't have to have an intimate relationship with that person. And then you can undress that person and turn it into an intimate image or a nude or a sexual act that person, one, is not aware of, did not consent to. And the photos that you can use as reference points to create these sexual acts or images aren't of sexual nature. Like you could be at dinner, or you could be just taking a photo of yourself, like walking around in the mall, whatever it may be. That is the emerging risk that has happened throughout, I would say, like 2 years, there's been some high profile victims, especially high schoolers, that I'll get into later in the episode. But basically, the NCII did not include deepfakes. And so now there's this Take It Down Act after these high profile events, especially with women, or I guess they're not women, but girls in high school where this has occurred. And social media companies took a long time to take down these digitally altered images. In the case with one victim, it took Snapchat 9 months to take down the sexual image. And that resulted in all sorts of issues with the victim in high school and just distractions. And I mean, it's just not a good situation to be in when you're scared that there's fake nudes circulating around your high school or around the whole internet of you or your friend or anyone else. So the rise of deep fakes, and you may be thinking about it like, oh, I've never heard about a deep fake. What is a deep fake? Who even does that kind of stuff? That's not even popular. I haven't even heard about that. Okay, fair enough. You are not around weirdos, so pat yourself on the back. But these deepfake websites do get a lot of visits. I have in here the top 16 sites in 6 months got 200 million visitors. These are estimates from a legal case that is ongoing. These numbers were a result of an investigation. So the top 16 sites had 200 million people going to it in 6 months. So it's a little bit more mainstream than you would think. I don't know these sites. I've never been on a site like this. I know that they exist. And I know that on certain internet forums, when they're talking about these new AI models, like there's weirdos in the thread, like, oh, like, can you do sexual stuff with it? And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, we're talking about the architecture of the model and how they trained it. What was their training recipe? And then there's like somebody in the corner, like, oh yeah, like, but can you like make AI chicks? Or like, is there like an AI girlfriend I can make? Like, I would love an AI girlfriend. And everyone else is like, get out of here, you weirdo. Like, go somewhere else. And so I knew these things existed. I just didn't know, one, I didn't know how popular they were. And two, I didn't know that like this many people went to them. Like, it's crazy. One thing I did find concerning is, I'll read this out. Last year, there were more than 21,000 deepfake videos uploaded to pornographic sites, a 460% increase from last year or 2 years ago. So, year over year, 460% increase in deepfake videos uploaded online. I don't think I defined what a deepfake is. So, deepfake could be anything. So, I would say any digitally altered asset could be considered deepfake. So when I made my AI voice, that would be considered a deepfake because I it I did not say those things, nor was that me, but it sounded like me, acted like me, had my same tone of voice, cadence of speech, and people had a hard time telling the difference because it was a deepfake. But I made the deepfake, so I was aware of it and I consented to it. So by definition, it wouldn't be a deep fake. But if someone unknowingly to me made a deep fake of me saying inappropriate things on the internet, that would be a deep fake. But the issue is, it's it's a new technology and there's not a lot of synthetic keys that are built into the audio or the images or the videos. One company that does this very well is Google, where they bake in a synthetic ID into the pixel structure of the image that or video that was generated, because a pixel are basically numbers that go up to 256. And these pixels, you can create codes in them without changing or altering the quality of the image. And so if you create an image from Google, Google knows when they scan the internet that it's an AI photo. These things aren't created at the moment for a whole bunch of sites. And so these deepfake sites, like, you won't be able to tell where it came from. It's kind of like an unregistered gun. And Google has a serial number on their guns. These other websites, not so much. But yeah, that would be a deep fake. So it would be a digitally altered asset without the person's consent. And so you could do sexual images, you can create and distribute impersonations of that person, you can create videos of them doing stuff that is inappropriate, all sorts of things that would attack or undermine that person's credibility, or have them unknowingly make decisions without their knowledge. Like, if you use their, I mean, this would be straight up fraud, but Fidelity has voice authorization as their authenticator. And if you're able to authenticate saying I think all they ask is your name. And then after that, it allows you access to the systems. It says, thank you for authenticating. And it just, boom, you're in. So I think we just have to rethink quite a few of those authentication methodologies. But anyway, so that was deep fakes. The next thing is, getting confused here. The next thing is defining what the Take It Down Act comprises of. So I talked about the NCII, and the NCII was defining the revenge porn, or what is consent for intimate relationships with it related to videography or images. And then the next thing is the revenge porn, or the publishing without consent, because just because you had an intimate relationship where you guys consented to images or videography being taken while you're in that relationship, it did not consent to publication. And so if that were to happen and there was no explicit thing in writing saying, hey, I consent to publication, then that would be defined as revenge porn. Whereas deepfakes, they don't have prior background or consent. As I mentioned before, you can take an image of non-sexual nature and make that into an image that is related to a sexual act. And so the Take It Down Act has a different approach, and the approach is related to the distributors of these models that allow you to, quote unquote, undress people and make these deep fakes. And then there's also a agreement with social media companies like Meta Platforms and Snapchat to commit and have an obligation for removal of content after a good faith statement was made by the person who's filing the complaint that this is a deep fake. They have to take it down immediately or within 48 hours. 48 hours is the deadline, and if not, they'll be held liable for that. And then in addition to that, they're also attacking the distributors or the creators of this AI models. This act tried to get something similar to this, was approached and failed to pass the House before, and it was called the Defiance Act. And the Defiance Act was similar to the Take It Down Act, but it was more of allowing the victim to have restitution regarding deepfakes and revenge porn at a federal level. Whereas the Take It Down Act focuses more on the deepfakes and the NCII definitions of consent to videography and photography in an intimate relationship and defining what those limits are. Like if you do consent to that, no publication, of course, unless explicitly in writing. If the Defiance Act passed, then it would cover the most of this, but it just didn't pass the House. And that was, I think, Alexandra Cortez was the one who led that. The Take It Down Act is led by Ted Cruz, and mostly because one of the key victims in this whole ordeal was Ellison Berry, and she was based in Texas. She was a freshman in high school, and one of her classmates, unfortunately, decided that it'd be funny to create a deep fake of her using an image that she posted on Instagram. And the image of her on Instagram was kind of like the one that was used, because it showed it in the video of not this sexual image, of course, but the normal, like, original image. The source or reference image was a dress she was wearing. I think she was going to dinner with her parents, and like she was staying somewhere like near the beach or something like that. And they took that image and then undressed her and then distributed it throughout the school. And obviously that's like a brutal thing to happen. And especially when it takes 9 months to get it taken down. And I would like to show a video of her later on, because I think she has really, like, let me find the right word for it. Like, she's taken the right approach on this, and instead of having, which would, she could do that however she wants, but instead of like being embarrassed and upset, she is taking a different approach where she's attacking the problem and speaking, and she like is speaking about the bill and was one of the key advocates of this bill. It wasn't her parents, it was her. Like, she's speaking, like, the stuff that she talks about and her approach and how well spoken she is. I think it's a great representation of her and her personality and her character. So I wanted to just display a video of her speaking about the subject, but I'll do that later in the episode. And then there was another person named Francesca Manny, who was based out of New Jersey. Same issue that happened with her. She's also been a key representative of this issue and an advocate. She was on 60 Minutes with her mom. And so those two folks, or those two girls that were affected, were both in high school and both had similar issues where they had difficulty taking down the image, and it was up for too long, and it's not fair, and we need to figure this out, and something's got to change. And so that's where that came from. The next thing was talking about like what happens if you do violate the NCII like law that now covers both revenge porn and synthetic publication of pornographic images or videos. I think that these rules are a little bit I think that they're a little bit more relaxed than I would expect them to be, but I think that I think what they're really trying to get after is attacking the source instead of the people. But I don't know. I just feel like they're a little lax. Like penalties, fines, forfeitures, and restitute, imprisonment up to 2 years for adults, and then 3 years if the victim is a minor. So, like 2 to 3 years. I don't know. I don't know that. I just don't feel like that's enough. Like, I mean, you should know not to do these things. You should know, especially if it's an adult that does that to a minor. Like, that's crazy. If a minor did it to a minor, like I can understand that, it might have just been like a badly placed joke or like some kind of bullying going on. And I think there should be some kind of flexibility there. But I mean, if the victim is a minor and like you're an adult, their penalties should be very hefty on any of those things. And maybe this doesn't include the other charges, like you would become, you know, on the public records for all sorts of things that, and you can't live near schools and all sorts of other issues. But I was like surprised about the 2 to 3 years. It just didn't seem like that was enough. But anyways, okay. So I touched on a little bit earlier was the key provisions in the Take It Down Act, and the biggest one was within 48 hours there needs to be action taken, and the content needs to get taken down. And the only thing that the victim would have to provide is a good faith statement. They don't have to provide a whole thing. They don't have to fill out like some kind of form. All they have to do is provide a good faith statement like, hey, this is me. I did not consent to this. This is a deep fake. Or this is, an intimate image that I did not provide explicit statement in writing for publication. I mean, you could say it differently, but people, I would be freaking out if this happened to me. So I'd be like, this isn't me, whatever, take it down. Like I'd just be geeking out probably. I don't know. But the essence of it is, if a platform doesn't take it down in time, then there will be fines and investigations and sanctions, and the body that oversees that take it down is the FTC. And if the FTC determines that you are acting in non-compliance, so if it isn't taken down in 48 hours, they're considered as non-compliance, and then the FTC will launch an investigation. And when the FTC launches an investigation, most of the time, I would say like 98% of the time, they'll take you to trial and they'll win, and you got to do whatever they tell you to. So don't want to do that if you're a social media company, because the FTC does not play around. Overall, it did have sponsorship from Meta and Snapchat, so I'm pretty sure they've already built like systems, and they have things put in place to report images. But I don't think they have an option to like, okay, this is a deep fake or this is revenge porn, I'm going to take it down like right away. And I think the issue with social media at the moment is, regarding these extreme things, is they do like a crowd report, where if many people from a crowd report an image as bad or not so good, then they'll take it down. But if it's related to something extreme like fake nudes or something like that, and there's not that many people reporting it, then it just doesn't get taken down. And I've helped women that I know or girls that I grew up with, where people would create these like fake accounts under their name, and they would take all their photos from their Instagram, publish them, put it on their Instagram, and they would start getting followers. Like they would have thousands of followers at some point, and they just pop up, and then people are like, hey, is this you? Like, I didn't know you made a new account. And they're like, I didn't make a new account. Who is this? And we all had to basically go in, and she'd have to tell all her followers and DM people like, hey, like there's this account that's fake. It's not me. Instagram is refusing to take it down. Like, can you help me and report this? And of course I would report it every time. Like it's an easy thing to do. But the fact that you have to take it to that level, and you have to reach out to other folks for them to also report the image, for them to take it down, is ridiculous. Like if somebody makes a fake account of you and they're they're starting to mimic you online, get followers, and then they start publishing like sexual stuff. Instagram should just take it down. Meta platforms should just take it down. Like the the you should give people the benefit of the doubt that there is in the verification process should be pretty easy. Whereas, this account has the original date of creation, and then this other account like is way older, but maybe they recently had a name change and they deleted all their photos and they re-uploaded all these different photos, and then the photos match. I mean, it's not that hard of a problem to verify which one is new and which one is old and verify these people's claims. And so I never understood why Instagram or Facebook just took so long to take down these things. And the same thing applies for Snapchat, where people would create these Snapchat accounts of like women I was friends with. I mean, they're women now, but back in the day, they're girls. And then they would add people that were related to these people, like related to their friend group or people in the high school. And then they would like start messaging people and then sending nudes and all sorts of stuff. And you had to get your whole friend group and get a whole bunch of folks involved to report it and get the account banned on. And if you didn't have that kind of voice, then you would be shit out of luck. Like the Snapchat and Meta, they don't care and they'll just let it fly instead of taking people at their word and saying, hey, like this is not right. Somebody is mimicking me online and now they're doing sexually and inappropriate stuff, sexual or inappropriate stuff. Like, that's not me. Take it down. That's it. like, like, I don't know. It's just like so many things in, like, there's so many examples where if like, what do you need? You need 10 people to tell you that your house is burning down. Oh, wait, no, not enough people told me. So I didn't know. I didn't know that my house was burning down. Okay. Well, like, we were at 7, but we really needed 10. We needed 10 people to tell me my house is burning down. Like, why would somebody just randomly go up to you and be like, hey man, like your house is burning down. Like you gotta, you know, like figure it out. you know? Like in a general sense, like society in itself is wholesome. There are some bad actors, and that's promoted by the media, and a lot of things that the media talks about is very negative in nature and frantic and invokes fear because that's what makes money. But in a general sense, if you just walk around the world or wherever you go, I mean, a lot of people are quite nice, and randoms in various countries that have less money than you, or places where you're known or you're just walking around. I mean, it's just like people aren't out to get you. It's just people may feel that way because of the things that they watch on television. What I talked about it a little earlier was the face swap proposition. So this this is a weird gray area, and the Take It Down Act addresses this. But basically, if I take someone else's face and plaster it and stitch it onto somebody else's body, then technically it isn't anybody. Like it's like a fake person. But then this is when the definition from the Take It Down Act is is put into perspective, and it is, will a reasonable person be able to tell that this is a different thing? And if the answer is no, then it's it is qualifies for the take it down, where you could take it down. So if a reasonable person is not able to recognize or acknowledge that this is a deep fake, or recognize that this is a related person to this person A versus person B, that is what the definition is. If the composite of the image or video is artificially generated, comparing to person A to person B, can you relate those two people? And if you can, then it's a deepfake. So I think that would cover quite a bit of things, because if it's not an actual image of the person, like this undressed thing, and it's like a digitally altered version of their face, even though it's not their face, it's close to their face. If a reasonable person can't tell the difference between the two people, then it's a deepfake, which I think protects, like that kind of clause protects future advancements in the technology as this grotesque technology evolves. And the practicality of this is going to be a huge task, where there is just going to be just a monster undertaking of attacking these websites that are generating all of this undress me content or deep fake pornography. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, 2 years ago, from like year over year from last year, up 460%. Over 20,000 images, or it's 20,000 videos were uploaded to pornographic sites for deepfakes. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to identify what is a deepfake that's attacked, like especially like on a normal like porn site or something like that. I think it'd be difficult to understand like this is a deep fake. The TikTok example that I mentioned earlier in the episode during the intro makes a little bit more sense, simply because this person is a normal person, and they are doing these sexual dances and creating a sales funnel to OnlyFans. And so it's easy to link those three things together, like the original person, the deep fake person doing the dances that this person's never done, and then that person AI model then linking to the sales funnel for OnlyFans. Those connections are easy to create. But if it's like a deep fake, like just out of nowhere, just uploaded to Pornhub or something like that, then I don't know like how you would track that down, like unless people have built these apps that scrub the internet. And that might be a thing where people create apps where they scrub the internet for deep fakes of you and what you're doing and whether or not you're okay with it and like how to take it down. And maybe there's like these whole consulting firms that are created just so they help manage your digital presence in this deepfake world, and they'll take down things or bribe people to remove stuff or whatever it may be. But I think those are just additional work towards solving the problem versus attacking the actual problem, like taking down these big companies and then putting laws together. That's what we're doing at the moment, but putting laws together that make the generation of deepfakes illegal, and then also putting laws together that, because you won't be able to prevent people from creating these deepfakes. Like it's going to be impossible to completely prevent it. But what I could see happening is, as I mentioned earlier, like each gun has a serial number on it. And if you're caught with a gun with no serial number, like you'll get in a lot of trouble. So if you put a serial number on these AI images and videos that you create, this digital synthetic key, that's something that Google does within the pixels, and it has this synthetic key that's generated, and it's underneath it's within the generation of the photo at the pixel level, then you will be able to tell what is AI generated and what is real. If you made a law that forced every AI model company that provides imagery and video to, or anything AI related outputs that is imagery or video, because you could also like do like alter an image or video, that you assign a synthetic key to it, and then that synthetic key is linked to the information that would be distributed on the internet. And if you have majority of the major websites registered with a synthetic key, then it's easier to tell which websites are not registered. And so this is quite complicated because you would need an alliance with the private companies, and then you'd probably need some kind of world alliance to get a registration of all of the main AI companies to create the synthetic key upon the generation of an image or video. If that is doable, I think that's the best result, because then it's easier to track down what companies are not generating synthetic keys. If you have the majority of companies, like if you have compliance at 80%, instead of looking around and trying to see, okay, what's the whole market and who can generate these things, now it's a simpler problem where you're only looking at the remainder of the 20% of the 100. So I think it narrows down the issue, but at the moment they're attacking the top 16 websites. And that's an ongoing development. But as I mentioned, it's just that these AI models are just going to become more sophisticated and more capable over time. And it seems every 6 months or so, or every 3 months, there's always some kind of historical breakthrough where it's like, wow, this is crazy. This is next level. And then 3 months later, there's another breakthrough that just blows your mind. And then that happens over and over and over and over again over a period of 3 or so years. And before you know it, you don't even know where you were standing prior. And that's what's really been going on lately. And so I don't think that things get less advanced. I think they get more advanced. So I'm really happy with what has been passed. And I'm 100% sure that this is going to get signed. I think that there's only 2 people that voted against it. And I think it was something like 400 and I should know the count for sure. But sometimes I get a little nervy on the podcast. 109 to 2. So 2 people voted against it, and then 409 people. So it has strong bipartisan support. Of course. I mean, I don't know why you would vote against it. But overall, very happy with the application of this and how this is moving forward. And as a close out, I would like to share a video of one of the victims, because I think she represents herself in a wonderful way. So let me share my screen. Share. Sorry, I had a cough. All right, let's do this. So full screen. What is this? This isn't it. Hold on. I think it was autumn. It was playing videos while I was. Oh my gosh. It was playing videos probably while I was. Okay, here we go. The video's loading up.
Non-budget related measures now attached to the bill targets tech companies and would require platforms to remove compromising images posted without the subject's consent. In tonight's Eye on America, CBS's Jim Axelrod looks at the battle against a specific kind of abuse known as deepfake pornography.
Anna McAdams has always kept a close eye on her 15-year-old daughter, Elliston Berry's life online.
You always had an eye peeled for potential trouble.
Yes.
Did you see this coming?
No, not at all.
Hard to imagine who would have on the Monday morning after homecoming in Aledo, Texas, 15 months ago.
She came into our bedroom crying just going, Mom, you won't believe what just happened.
A classmate had taken this picture from Elliston's Instagram, run it through an app like this one that, using artificial intelligence, appeared to remove her dress, then sent it around on Snapchat.
What are you looking at?
Child porn. It was horrifying.
There was nothing about it that looked fake.
No.
Just school and the environment, it was so different.
6 weeks into her freshman year of high school, Elliston Berry was confronting something sinister.
I had PSAT testing and I had volleyball games and football games. And the last thing I need to focus and worry about is fake nudes of mine going around the school. Those images were up and floating around Snapchat for 9 months.
Your mom reached out. You tried to get him taken down right after it happened.
And heard nothing.
Could have just easily been my daughter.
Do you have a lot of homework tonight?
In San Francisco, Yvonne Murray was starting to hear stories similar to Elliston's, which hit home.
My daughter at the time was 15. I'm a public lawyer and a mom, and this case unites both of those things.
The San Francisco Chief Deputy City Attorney, Murray, is now suing the owners of 16 websites that produce deepfake pornography.
This case is not about tech. It's not about AI. It's sexual abuse.
And a lot of it. These websites make disturbing pitches to customers. Have someone to undress, one asks, and they're successful. The lawsuit says the 16 sites had 200 million visits in just the first 6 months of the year.
We chose 16 of the largest, most pernicious operators in the world.
David Chu, the city attorney of San Francisco, says those 16 are just a start.
We're aware of at least 90 of these websites. So this is a large universe and it needs to be stopped.
Every victim should have the right to say, that's me. That's
Texas Senator Ted Cruz is co-sponsoring another angle of attack. The Take It Down Act just passed the Senate.
That puts a legal obligation on any tech platform. You must take it down and take it down immediately.
Snapchat told us they have mechanisms for reporting this kind of content, and they're disheartened to hear families felt that their concerns went unattended. But Elliston is now focused on the present.
And I urge the House to pass this bill immediately to protect so many people because this is a serious matter. I can't go back and redo what he did. Instead, I can prevent this from happening to other people.
You look so happy.
I really was.
Such strength for a high school sophomore dealing with a modern form of abuse when she should have been focused on enjoying homecoming. In Aledo, Texas, I'm Jim Axelrod for Eye on America.
In a commencement address last week at the University.
So that was the video that I wanted to share, and I thought that it represented her in a wonderful light, like taking something that happened to her that was very unfortunate and being an advocating for change and creating a lot of pressure on politicians to create mechanisms that don't allow this to happen to other people, which has been successful. Same thing with Francesca. And overall, just a very bad thing that has happened to both of those girls. And it's very unfortunate, but they have spoken out and were very strong and have since impacted the legislation that has now passed and is not signed by the president, but it's passed the House and the Senate. And I don't see why he would not sign. So I just wanted to create that last note where it's just refreshing that these things are changing, and the concern that women and girls have had since even when I was a kid. Like, this has been an issue since I've been a kid. Like, when I was growing up, this was an issue. And it's obviously the issue hasn't gotten any better. It's just gotten worse over time. And I'm happy that these things are changing, and then I'm happy that the impact that these two girls have had on shaping and pressuring politicians to create a bill that is passable and has bipartisan support, and getting this through ASAP, because this happened about like 15 months ago. I don't know when things were published in public, but I am very glad that things are moving forward in a positive direction. That being said, I probably should have started at the beginning of the episode with that video. Maybe you probably didn't make it to the end, but yeah, I just got distracted. But of course, wherever you are in this world, have a great day, good afternoon, good evening, and I hope to hear from you. I hope you hear from me next week. Sorry. But anyways, goodbye.